How's everybody? So we're back talking for Season 2 of Chucky on the channel with Episode 7, the penultimate episode for Season 2, even though a lot of this does feel like a season finale, but nevertheless I am excited to get into all of the storylines here because all of them are converging finally after the tragic death at the end of last week with the death of Nadine, which still bums me out because as much as I was kind of on the fence about Nadine, I started to grow actually quite fond of her character, and then Chucky just chucks her out the window to her death, so there's that. Much like the characters, I'm still grieving Nadine's passing, and you can definitely tell once again that they are continuing to fracture as a group. They don't really have a whole lot in common other than the fact that they share this trauma of dealing with Chucky, and I feel the most bad for Lexi just because she was growing so attached to Nadine only for her to be taken by Chucky. Once again, dragging someone into their Chucky drama and having them pay the cost with their life. I did like the look at trauma here this episode through all the different characters and the trauma they've endured from Chucky in the confessional booth when all of them talked to Father Bryce all throughout the episode. I thought it was also really cool the way that it was stylized with this black and white with some color here and there. I thought it was a great look behind the curtain seeing how differently each character's lives have changed due to just Chucky's presence in them, because we've seen over the last several decades all these characters have been messed up in some shape or form. With the majority of Season 2 having these storylines separated from one another, it was great to see them finally converge this week with Kyle, Nika, and Glenn arriving to kind of work out their arrangement with Dr. Mixter, and I guess we're still calling him Good Chucky. I'm not going to call him Good Chucky anymore. I'm sorry. You killed Nadine. You get the good taken out of your title. But we are going to work out that arrangement. We're going to get Chucky out of Nika's body, separate the two, put the original Chucky, Chucky Prime, in Good Chucky. Preparation for that arrangement, though, however, did not go in the direction that I was anticipating. I was not anticipating a full-blown Chucky exorcism this week. It was pretty wild. It goes in some directions that you're definitely not expecting going into it. I mean, that's just kind of the story of Season 2. A lot of different crazy things going on. One of the more hilarious, subtle details to this story to me is the fact that Father Bryce has to call up the Vatican to get permission to perform this exorcism, and then he comes back and says he's been excommunicated. I would have loved to have heard that story, how he would try to explain how this worked out. He's got to exorcise a demon out of a doll, and he just gets booted out of the church entirely. I guess it's a good thing that Father Bryce has an Exorcism for Dummies book lying around to use just in case of emergency situations. Those dummy books do seem to come in handy when it comes to this franchise. Since both Andy and Kyle are now Incarnate Lord, I loved seeing the reunion between the two of them, poking fun at each other, which I thought was pretty hilarious, especially because both of them have changed their hair since the last time they spoke, and Kyle's still a bit mad that she got left behind at the gas station and Andy just drove away. But not only just that, I didn't realize it until they mentioned it in the episode, but we get a first official meeting with Andy and Nika, because the last time that they met each other in Cult of Chucky, Nika was Chucky, so they don't have any memory of one another. So it was great to get them have this actual meeting with one another and kind of sharing how terrible their lives have been thanks to Chucky. I still think Nika may have won out on this battle just because she has no arms or legs, but Andy's pretty messed up too. We cut back to Tiffany on her road trip to New Jersey with Glenn. I figure it's going to be a pretty long trip since they are coming from California and they got to drive across the entire United States to New Jersey while also being on the run for murder. You can imagine it's a pretty sticky situation and a very stressful one, and Tiffany is not taking it very well. You know it's pretty bad when it's to the point where Tiffany is throwing in the towel on being a human and offering to swap bodies back into the Tiffany doll with Jennifer Tilly, which you can imagine Jennifer Tilly does not want to do because she would go back to being Jennifer Tilly, and Jennifer Tilly's wanted for murder and is probably going to go down and be in prison for many different years. So yeah, not a great time to change back into Jennifer Tilly. This section though did have one of the biggest shockers in it because my mouth was on the floor when this happened, because Glenn allows Jennifer Tilly to escape and run away across the highway, and she gets splattered by a truck going by. I thought maybe we were going to have something interesting there with Jennifer Tilly potentially getting back into her own body, and Don Mancini and company said, nah, we're gonna just destroy Jennifer Tilly, so that's just off the table. Wow. I honestly thought that was going to be the one big crazy explosion this week, but there is one more that is even more insane, at least to me. Before getting to that though, there is this very emotional scene that I quite enjoyed between Lexi and having this hallucination with Nadine there, almost like a fairy godmother-esque type of character, because Lexi is really going through it. After Nadine being killed by Chucky, she's back to using drugs once again. It's how much that we've seen Lexi go through all throughout season 2. I found it very effective how Nadine talks her off the ledge and reassures her that she'll be okay and to stay strong and to not beat herself up about Nadine passing. It was a very sweet scene and kind of an emotional send-off for Nadine. Of course, it's probably a hallucination, so it's not real, but still, it's very effective. As someone who's a big fan of horror, I've been loving all the homages to classic horror films all throughout the season so far. Don Mancini's been doing a great job with that. And we get some more here. We've, of course, seen many of The Exorcist because there's an exorcism involved, but there's some Silence of the Lambs, too, because they put that Hannibal Lecter mask on Chucky after he headbutts Jake after getting too close because he has that split personality thing going on where he's apologizing for killing Nadine, and then Jake gets headbutted in the process. Once all of this exorcism stuff does begin, I think this is the most fun and wild portion of the entire episode. I mean, Chucky has gone to hell so many times at this point, you just kind of have to laugh at the fact that he does not care. I mean, he even says that he's from Jersey, so why does he care about going to hell again? He's yelling all types of obscenities at everyone to get under their skin, bringing up all the people's loved ones that he's murdered, and then he just starts floating as they're chanting. It's pretty crazy. It reminds me a lot of The Exorcist, even the puking when he pukes on Father Bryce. That's when it looked like everything was going fine and the exorcism did work. We have one last final surprise because Chucky is now inhabiting Father Bryce. We get a possessed Chucky Devon Sawa, which, you know, cool concept, just because Devon Sawa is so awesome, and then he freaking explodes! I was not expecting a Devon Sawa explosion. Going into the season, I expected him to die in some shape or form, and I really think that Don Mancini at this point just likes to kill Devon Sawa. We've seen him die 3 times now across 2 seasons, and of the 3 deaths, this is probably the coolest one. This is my favorite amongst all of them. So we have 2 explosions in one episode between original Jennifer Tilly and Father Sawa. The crazy part about all this insanity is this is just part 1 of the exorcism. We still gotta separate Chucky and Nika and put Chucky into the doll, which, you know, it works perfectly. The incantation always works, but I like the plan here that Jake has to just grab Chucky the moment he takes that body and try and drown him in the holy water. It was going pretty well, and then freaking Sister Ruth has to go and ruin it, coming in with Lexi held at gunpoint because she's just been a complete weirdo this whole time. Usually, I don't condone deaths of nuns in this way, but in this case, thank God that Glenda throws the knife and kills her right on the spot. And they threw in one last surprise, though, because I really thought that this Chucky, since it seemed like this was the last one, they were going to get away, because we do have 1 episode left, mind you. But Andy mows down this Chucky in the hallway, just obliterates him, fills him with bullets at this point. And it seems like we have a happy ending, this conclusion where everybody thinks everything's wrapped up. We don't have a next episode. Everyone's kind of figuring out how their lives are going to be now that we don't have to deal with Chucky anymore. I don't know, it just felt like to me a lot of this was a finale and not the penultimate episode leading towards a finale. Right on cue though, Tiffany does roll up, and look, I like Tiffany. I think she's an interesting character, one of the more fun aspects to the franchise, but I totally understand why once she pulls up, Nika is just ready to shoot her and kill her. She's gone through a lot of trauma because of her, but Glenn steps in front of the bullet. They take the bullet and we drive off with them, and we'll see where they go, I guess, maybe next week. I have a feeling that maybe we're going to put Glenn in the body, the doll body. That's at least my prediction for next week, just because it looks like they're probably going to die. They're human form. Since it seemed like most stuff was wrapped up, I had to wonder, where do we even go with the finale of this last episode? And it seems like we are trending towards finding out why exactly is Dr. Mixter involved. What is their end game here for helping out Chucky, and especially with the confessional she has with Father Bryce, that's finally revealed at the end, and her whole plan, kind of, sorta, and we get a close-up of her laughing like Chucky, so it seems like that is where we're leaning for the surprises for the finale, the big reveals. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, overall, very wild penultimate episode for Chucky Season 2. Make sure you share your thoughts down below. What'd you think of this episode? How are you feeling about the developments here, the converging of the storylines, all of the different crazy stuff? I mean, you have Devon Sawa exploding, this reveal with Dr. Mixter, the original Jennifer Tilly dying. I think the finale is going to be pretty crazy, so let's see how that goes. But thank you guys so much for the reviews. I always do appreciate it. If you should like on the video, also subscribe to the channel. So update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. Next time, I'll see you guys later.